Are so spoiled nowadays, another commented. That nightfall, the case was ruled to be unsubstantiated. I was grounded indefinitely for attempting to ruin the family. However, our parents were not the only ones that disciplined me and Noah. It was also my younger sister Ava. She refused to call him anything except the R slur and made loud noises to provoke a meltdown. My parents gave her a new car as a reward for her faithfulness. My parents eventually started blaming me for Noah, to the point where I was forced into treatment. Which sounds wonderful, but it was with my father's friend, who relayed everything I said back to my parents. I knew I needed to find Noah a way out, but I had no idea how. To be honest, I hoped the matter would resolve itself. And one day, it happened. Because Ava failed her prestigious high school admission exam, which I helped her study for. Noah found himself no longer confined in the basement. I was. My parents began calling him their beloved boy and purchasing him gifts. But rather than defend me, Noah joined in. When he spilled juice, he would point to me and say, "She made me do it." When he had a meltdown, he would yell, "It's her fault." My parents ate it up every time. But I didn't feel angry or sad. Instead, I was pleased because seeing Noah being fed on a regular basis and not sobbing himself to sleep made it worthwhile. But one thing about my family is that nothing ever remains the same. To my surprise, Dylan, the lone person who had remained silent the entire time, altered everything. One day, as I sat in the basement, staring at the white wall and trying not to think about how hungry I was, I heard something creep under the door. It was a telephone. When I turned it on, I noticed it was in the Notes app, with only one thing written. I've been recording everything for 2 years. Dylan's recordings contained video proof of Noah being locked in the basement, his parents faking homeschool documentation, and most critically, their father coaching witnesses before to the CPS visit. I spent hours watching the film while Dylan stayed upstairs, knocking 3 times anytime somebody approached the basement door. Dylan's involvement was discovered by our mother, who spotted him smuggling food to me and quickly confiscated his equipment. However, Dylan had previously uploaded everything to various cloud accounts. Our parents recruited a family friend named David, a tech expert, to clean all devices and recover the footage, paying him $10,000 to destroy the evidence. David discovered some of the cloud accounts, but Dylan had concealed the major backup in an old email account that our parents had no idea existed. Ava discovered the basement key concealed in Dylan's room and attempted to blackmail him into erasing everything in exchange for not alerting our parents, but Dylan also taped her threats. Our father began forcing me to sign documents claiming that I had mental health difficulties and need residential care, bringing new forms every day and withholding meals until I consented. During one of these sessions, I faked to have a seizure, which prompted Dylan to phone our Aunt Rebecca, who lived 2 hours away. Rebecca arrived, wanting to see all 4 children, but our parents claimed I was at a friend's house and refused to let her in. Dylan managed to show Rebecca one video on his disguised phone during a restroom break, and she promptly contacted CPS as a worried relative. This time, a different social worker, Ms. Coleman, arrived who was not scared by our father's credentials and insisted on interviewing each child individually. Our parents attempted to coach Noah, but his autism made him bad at lying, and he kept contradicting himself, eventually breaking down and stating that he missed his sister and wanted her back from the basement. Ms. Coleman demanded a search of the house and discovered me trapped in the basement, emaciated and surrounded by the false documents our father had been attempting to get me to sign. Our parents said I locked myself in as a kind of manipulation, but Dylan presented audio recordings of them discussing keeping me inside. Ava finally broke down and revealed she had been afraid to speak up, recounting years of watching Noah's negligence. The special education advocate from the homeschool inspection returned with Ms. Coleman and decided Noah had been educationally neglected for 4 years, rendering him unable to do fundamental activities for his age group. Both parents were arrested for child abuse and neglect, with our father also facing accusations for manipulating legal documents and witness tampering. While the investigation was ongoing, all 4 children were temporarily placed with Aunt Rebecca, and Noah eventually received appropriate autism testing and support services. Our father lost his legal license after the recordings indicated that he had exploited his position to manipulate the system, and several of his previous custody cases were reopened for evaluation. Our mother's charity positions vanished instantly as the truth was out, leaving her with only legal expenses and a ruined reputation. Dylan's 2 years of meticulous recording resulted in both parents earning prison sentences, while Aunt Rebecca acquired permanent custody of all 4 siblings. I began my junior year at a public school where no one knew about my family's background. Dylan became interested in journalism and safeguarding those who were unable to defend themselves. To make amends for her previous mistreatment, Ava began helping with special needs children, and Noah excelled in a specialized education program, where he finally learned to read and write at the age of 9, always citing his elder sister as his first true teacher. The first several weeks at Aunt Rebecca's residence were strange. We each had our own bedroom, ate 3 meals per day at regular intervals, and no one locked the doors from the outside. Rebecca worked as a nurse and had to restructure her entire schedule to accommodate 4 traumatized children, but she never complained. She simply kept making pancakes every morning and asking if we needed anything. Our parents posted bail within days. The judge stipulated that they could not contact us directly, but this did not prevent them from attempting everything else. Their lawyer, Mr. Henderson, a co-worker of my father's, filed emergency proceedings alleging Rebecca was unfit guardian. He claimed she worked too many hours, lived in a modest 3-bedroom house, and lacked expertise parenting children. The irony of my parents arguing that someone else was unsuited was not lost on me. Rebecca hired her own lawyer using money she didn't have and took out loans against her home. The first hearing was scheduled 3 weeks following our placement. During that time, Denise, my mother's sister, began unexpectedly visiting Rebecca's home. She'd stand on the lawn and take shots of the property, capturing every devil's lettuce in the garden and paint chip on the fence. Denise would cry when Rebecca begged her to go, claiming that we were being brainwashed against our loving parents. Dylan hooked up security cameras with old phones, forming a network that recorded every visit. He showed me video of Denise attempting to peep through windows when she believed no one was watching. Ava spotted her trying to talk to Noah through the backyard fence one afternoon, offering him sweets if he told the judge he wanted to go home. Noah had begun to realize that home was no longer safe, but the look in his eyes when Denise mentioned our parents made my chest tighten. The school situation was complex. Rebecca resided in a separate district, and relocating 4 children in the middle of the school year required a mountain of paperwork. My siblings and I attended a private school that would not divulge our information without our parents' signatures. Ms. Coleman intervened to provide temporary educational placements. I arrived at the local public high school 3 weeks late, carrying a backpack Rebecca had purchased at Goodwill after our parents revoked the credit cards they had given us for emergencies. Walking inside that school seemed like I was entering another universe. Nobody knew about the basement or the recordings. I was the new girl who arrived in October with hollow cheeks and old clothes. When a girl called Loss in my chemistry class discovered I didn't yet have a textbook, she offered to give hers. Her simple kindness caused me to excuse myself and cry in the restroom. Meanwhile, our parents hired a private detective to track Rebecca. We'd see the same vehicle parked outside the grocery shop and pharmacy whenever we went. Dylan chronicled every sighting, adding to his ever-growing body of evidence. The investigator even visited Noah's new special education program, attempting to interview staff about his development. The school had to issue a no trespassing order. The smear campaign grew on social media. Our mother's charity friends expressed how distraught she was to lose her lovely children to a vengeful cousin. They displayed old family photos from before things broke apart, when we still looked like the perfect family wearing identical Christmas sweaters. People who didn't know the truth expressed their prayers and support for my parents. Ava spent hours reporting posts and correcting lies, but new ones surfaced before she could answer them. Our father's co-workers from the holiday party provided character references to the court, characterizing him as a devoted family man. They deliberately failed to mention the screaming they had heard in the basement that night. Mr. Henderson utilized these letters to suggest that the criminal accusations were a misunderstanding that would be resolved before trial. He portrayed Dylan's recordings as fabricated proof from a distressed adolescent seeking attention. The first family court session occurred on a wet Tuesday. Rebecca had to take unpaid leave from work, which added to her financial stress. She'd got us used court clothes from a thrift store to ensure we looked presentable. Dylan wore his father's old tie, which Rebecca shortened for him. The irony was not lost on any of us. Our parents arrived dressed in fancy suits, accompanied by 3 lawyers. My mother had dropped weight and groomed herself to appear vulnerable and oppressed. My father kept his professional demeanor, nodding to court personnel as if he were arriving for business rather than battling for custody of children he had molested. They sat at their table, whispering with their legal team, and occasionally looking at us with faces of studied sorrow. Judge Martinez, an older woman, evaluated the emergency custody order. Mr. Henderson immediately began arguing over Rebecca's suitability as a guardian. He showed images Denise had taken, emphasizing the small size of the house and the neglected yard. He questioned how a single lady working 12-hour nursing shifts could effectively manage 4 children with diverse needs. Rebecca's lawyer, Ms. Chen, responded with documentation of the changes Rebecca had made. She had shifted to day shifts, enrolled us in appropriate schools, and scheduled therapy appointments